All right. Back for the Studio 2121 podcast. I'm Zach Bibby. This is my first ever podcast with Westbrook. I'm sitting here with Tristram Spitsnaugle, the director of the Connections program.
Hey, is this your first podcast?
This is my first podcast, yeah. So it's going to be a bumpy one. It's going to be a bumpy one, but we're going to get through it. So anyway, just to get us started out, just tell me about the Connections program.
The Connections program exists through a SAMHSA grant. It's what's considered a GBHI grant. So our program was grant funded for 5 years. It started in May 2019. And the goal of the program is to help people who are either currently experiencing homelessness. So if they're staying in a shelter, they're out on the streets, they're in an abandoned building, whatever that looks like. And also those who are at risk of homelessness. So if they are in a treatment facility, we don't necessarily have a discharge plan for them. They're couch surfing. Someone could kick them out the next day. They're about to get evicted, still falls under us. And our goal is to help them, sustain housing, overcome any barriers that they have. So it could be anything from I need help getting into treatment. I don't have my vital documents. Without my vital documents, I can't start work. Without work, I don't have an income. I can't get into a place. It's truly a wide variety of things. Whatever can be considered a barrier counts. Whenever COVID was going on and they were doing the stimulus checks, we were helping people navigate that. Every day is a new day. You have no idea what you're going to run into that day. I'm helping people start work, get work clothes, build resumes, get coats for winter. We bought mattresses for people, furniture for people. Whatever it is that they're struggling with, we try to find that barrier and then overcome it. If it's our program, if it's finding another program, if it's somewhere inside of Westbrook, if it's another agency, another nonprofit, whatever that looks like. Every day something new, and my elevator pitch is really, really long because every day I get asked something else like, hey, can you help with this? I've been doing this 4.5 years, and that's new to me. I have truly no idea. We'll find out. And if I can't do it, then we'll find somebody who can.
That's awesome.
Every day is something new. That's
amazing. Yeah, I didn't have any idea how complex the Connection program really was. I had no idea that the approach you guys take from helping people get documents to finding housing, just everything is amazing. And we have a real problem in this area.'ve noticed the homelessness issue is increasing, and I don't know if there's any reasoning behind that. Have you found any, other than, your usuals? I've always heard substance abuse can lead to that, but you've got a more in-depth look at what's really going on, as far as the homelessness situation in Parkersburg and surrounding areas.
Yeah, so from the way I understand it, and I'm 95% positive about this one. So up until 2019, the rates were actually declining. And then right around 2019, they shot up basically at an unprecedented rate. No one was expecting it to happen this quick. A lot of it has to come down with there isn't a lot of housing available. So if you would go on your phone and pull up Facebook Marketplace and you'd search for a one bedroom, you have people who are like, hey, $850 for a one bedroom. That's more than some people's mortgages. So getting somebody who is staying at a shelter or coming off the streets or coming out of a treatment facility and say they went to Amity, which is a 28-day roughly, and then say Exodus or Genesis, which is roughly a 90-day facility. That's 4 months worth of, 3 months worth of rent. They get off restriction. You're looking closer to 2 months worth of work that they now have to come up with first month's rent, deposit, find a place, and then be able to sustain that afterwards. It's a lot of money up front. And you're asking, $1,400, $1,500, $1,600 out of these people, and there isn't really a whole lot available. And a lot of it is, people can ask for that price because there's not a lot of supply. The demand's very high. And that's really one of the biggest issues that we have. We have people who, need a place, but they're only bringing in $600, $700 a month, or they're on disability, so they're getting $1,200 a month. Well, now they have $400 or $500 left for the rest of the month to cover any medical expenses, any groceries, transportation issues. And it's very cost burdensome, I think is the best way to put it. A lot of it has to come down to housing. Substance use is always something that goes hand in hand. Truly a little bit of everything.
That's exactly why I wanted to ask you, because you hear your normal reasons that people throw that out. They say, it's just, the substance abuse problem is increasing, so of course homelessness is increasing. But I think everybody needs to look at it from a broader spectrum and realize that it's not always just that.
Right.
Housing is not as accessible as it used to be.
Yeah.
Prices on everything are going up. Everything's expensive. It's expensive to live these days.
Oh, yeah.
So, just and I think that's a lot of the reason that it gets overlooked as well, because people are, they treat it with a certain stigma. Oh, that person's probably just going to go buy alcohol with the money. They're just going to go. Sometimes people are just having a hard time and they need assistance.
And I can't speak for everybody. There are some people that, maybe that is what they're doing. Maybe it's not. I don't know. And when it comes to being in a treatment facility, one of the things that they have to do is they have to find a discharge plan for you. They're not leaving a treatment. They're not graduating a treatment facility. Let me be really specific there. They're not graduating a treatment facility and be like, all right, you're on your own. Like, no, they're finding a place. Here's an apartment that you're going to. Here's a sober living. Here is, you're discharging to wherever it is. They're not just discharging to the streets. And something that we found is a lot of the people that we're working with, it's actually the vast majority of the people that we're working with who are experiencing homelessness, they're actually from West Virginia or from Parkersburg in some way, shape, or form. Some of them are newer to the area, but they came here because they had family in this area. They came here because they had a job opportunity. They came here because their significant other was in this area. Things didn't work out. Now they're, on the streets. They can't stay there. But a lot of the people that we're working with are from Parkersburg or have some tie here. It's very, very, very rarely that we get somebody who's like, yeah, I'm from, Tennessee, and I came here because there's a lot of treatment facilities here. Well, our treatment facilities, most of them accept Medicaids. Then they have to apply for West Virginia Medicaid, and there's a lot of barriers just to get that. So it makes sense for them to stay back where they were. Yeah, most of the people that we work with are from this area in one way, shape, or form. And there's a really large misconception that people think that they're just people are flocking to this area for one reason or another. It's not really what we're seeing. Most people seem to have some tie here.
I've noticed, growing up, that seems to be the case with most areas in West Virginia. Everybody comes home.
Yeah.
It's just it.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, West Virginia is a great state. We have a lot of opportunities. We're also lacking in a lot of ways, but I can say that about every state.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, I like this area. It's a nice area. Maybe I'm biased. I don't know. I've lived here my entire life. What do I know?
And this is a perfect opportunity, like I said, because me being brand new, any information that you can give me is going to help the general public, because I am starting fresh with no knowledge of the program whatsoever, other than what I've heard and talked to you about previously, which has, been in passing here and there.
I mean, whenever I started at Connections, I started knowing nothing. I mean, it was, I guess I've been blessed my entire life where that wasn't an issue for me, but there's things you get to learn, which is the fun part.
Now, as far as helping people, in the community and reaching out to people and do people usually come to Connections for treatment, or do you guys actually go out in the community and advertise your services and, find people in need?
I'm gonna say we're getting closer to about a 50-50 split. We're getting closer. Whenever we first started, it was solely outreach. We're getting closer to the point where people, we've got our word out. We've got a flyer out. We have a brochure, although we need to get that printed. We can discuss that another time. But anyway,
I think I know a guy that could probably help you with that.
I hope so. Yeah. So whenever we first started, it was strictly outreach, where we're slowly getting to the point where we're getting a lot of calls. We're getting a lot of people who, they're working with this program, and this program said that Connections can help me. So the United Way, which is 211, if you call and say, hey, I am in the Parkersburg area and I'm experiencing issues with my house and I'm about to get evicted, whatever the situation is, they'll give you a list of resources of you can call the DHHR, you can call this, and one of the resources that they'll give now is actually our number, which is really cool. So we get a lot of people who will call and say, hey, the United Way with 211 called me. We have peers out in the area from our agency and from other agencies that were, hey, I don't really know what to do in this situation, but you might. It's definitely getting closer to a 50-50. When we started, we still go to the shelters every day. We still touch base with them. We work really, really closely with the Westbrook treatment facilities, Amity, Genesis, Exodus, and we work with all of them to help them discharge wherever it is they're going to go. So we still do a lot of outreach. We still go, into abandoned buildings and, into the woods, wherever they might be. But we're slowly getting to the point where we are getting a lot more referrals and we are able to catch up with these people when they're finding us, which is good because I want people to know that we exist. Finding people isn't easy. Wood County is a very large area. And then our path worker who actually covers all of Westbrook's counties, it's a lot of area to cover. So having people know where we are and where they can reach out is definitely been the most beneficial, I would say. So yeah, we're getting closer to a 50-50. We go to the shelters, they'll tell them, hey, we have this program, you should reach out to them, here's their information. And then sometimes we'll just catch somebody, is out on the streets or, is wherever it is that they are, and we'll talk with them. And some people have heard of us, some people haven't. but we're getting closer to a 50-50, which is the goal. I want people to know that we exist. I want people to know that there's help there. If I don't know that they're out there, it's hard for me to find them, but if they can find us, it's a little bit easier. So marketing's been really, really good in the last, for the last 4.5 years we've existed. And we've done a really, really good job of getting our name out there. We have a lot of community partners that have worked really, really closely with us to pass people our way and work with them. Truly blessed. The community has been really, really awesome about that.
Well, that's great. That's kind of my goal here today, and that's why I have you on the podcast. That's why I chose you for this. It wasn't just a name out of a hat situation.
I'm in the building.
Yeah, we'll just leave that out. But no, November being Homelessness Awareness Month.
Right.
I kind of planned this entire month for our marketing around that theme, just because I think it's a pressing issue in the community that not a lot of people really even want to talk about. It's easier to look the other way.
Absolutely.
And we've all been there when you're coming to a stop at a stoplight and you've got somebody that is homeless needing assistance, and it's just sometimes it's easier to look the other way.
Yeah.
And it's really bad. I think, a lot of people have done it, and it's one of those things where we need to bring it to light and make sure that we have people like you and your team out there helping people and the awareness that they know they can get help if they need it.
Yeah.
As far as you guys being out in the field, you said you were going to like abandoned buildings, finding people. What is that event called that you guys host?
Okay, so I want to be really particular about how I just said that in the first case. Times where we do have to go into abandoned buildings, a lot of times it is with people like code enforcement. Sometimes. Yes. So there used to be a person in this position. It's really unfortunate. I don't know who the person's name is now. But the city of Parkersburg has what's essentially a homeless outreach worker, officer. I'm not entirely sure what their job title is. But anyways, they would give us a lot of calls of like, hey, we were going through this building. We have this guy here. Can you come speak with them? Sometimes they needed treatment. Sometimes they didn't. Sometimes, we would work with them and we've worked with them previously. Sometimes they're brand new to us. So a lot of the times if we do go into homeless buildings, we'll be very clear, we're not trespassing. We have like code enforcement, we have the police or somebody there with us, not only for just to make it legal, we can't just enter these people's buildings.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it also protects us. We don't know what we're going into, and we're social workers. We're not officers. We can't enforce trespassing, but I don't even remember what the original question was. I just want to be really clear that, whenever we do go into these places, we have clearance to do it.
Understandable. When you go into these areas and you see, the people and how they're living, how do they typically respond to you reaching out to them, I guess, from the other end of the spectrum? When you're going to the people in need, are they receptive? Are they, how does that work?
I would say yes. We have some people who, it's really the best way to put it is kind of like treatment resistant. And the vast majority of the time, I'm going to say a good 95% of the time is because they've been burned in one way, shape, or form previously. Whether it was, I was a client of this agency back in the 80s, or I, have this thing going on and I don't want to be involved. No, I'm involved in a CPS or APS case and I don't want them to know that I'm whatever. Either way, so we have some people who are, treatment resistant. And in cases like that, really the best thing that we can do is, okay, are you safe? One of the things I always ask, do you have insurance? And that's not I want to make sure that if you get services down the road, we can bill. No, I want to make sure that if you need to go to the doctor today, are you able to? If you need to call an ambulance, are you able to? Is there anything preventing you from getting the care that you need? And then a lot of times it's, you have those things. If you're in active use, are you wanting to enter recovery? Are you wanting to go to meetings? We'll offer all those things. If the answer is no, okay, do you have Narcan? If you're with somebody and something happens, or even to yourself and you need someone to use it on you, is this something that you need? If yes, there are a lot of programs inside of Westbrook that offer that. We can get them in contact with it. We'll do whatever we need to do to make sure that if they are continuing use, that they're safe, because that's ultimately what we want. And then we'll kind of start from there. A lot of people that we work with are very receptive of our help. The system is convoluted, I think is the best way to put it. And a lot of times you don't know what you need until you're there. So a good example of this is I was born in Parkersburg. If I lose my birth certificate, I will go down to the courthouse. I will give them my name, give them the information. I'll pay $5, $6.11 if I use a card. Easy. Super, super easy. If I want to order it from, I I think maybe Florida might be an example of this. I have to upload a copy of my ID. Well, I don't have my ID because I don't have my birth certificate. So how am I going to get this? So there's barriers you have to overcome. And if I'm recently homeless and, I don't have access to the internet 24/7, I can go to a library, but, again, I don't know what I don't know. So a lot of people are very, very receptive of the things that we have to offer. And our program is entirely grant funded. And so, we're not, if they don't want to get therapy services, if they don't want, to enter recovery, they don't want any of these extra things, that's fine. I still want to work with you, whatever. But being grant funded kind of gives us that ability to do so. And being a nonprofit in general gives us that ability to do so. So a lot of the people that we work with are very, very receptive of the information we have. There's always exceptions, and you'll have that. In that case, it is just, okay, are you safe? Can we do anything for you? If anything comes up and you need anything, this is how you get a hold of us. And then we'll touch back here and there. House to Home is an example where they're kind of a day program at drop-in shelter where we'll still visit there. And, we might catch them 2 weeks later. Oh, hey, so-and-so, how are you doing today? What's going on? Anything new? Okay, still need anything? All right, well, if you do, we'll be here. So we just kind of keep touching base and let them know, hey, well, whenever you're ready, we're ready. But most people we work with are pretty receptive.
I appreciate all the information. I mean, honestly, you are answering questions before I can even ask them.
Sorry.
That's perfect. Because I wanted to touch on that is the barriers of getting IDs and things like that. I mean, I have to say myself, just going to the DMV to get a license renewal. I mean, that can be a nightmare for just somebody that, just an everyday person that's not even in a crisis situation. So if you're homeless and you really don't know what the next steps are, it's really important to be able to have a resource to go to where they can say, hey, these are the next steps. We're going to get you taken care of. And that's amazing to me.
Yeah. And the rules, the regulations, the things that they want seem to change all the time. So the prime example of this is during COVID. During the peak of COVID, you could basically write a letter to the Social Security office saying, hey, this person is who they say they are. This is their social. They need their Social Security card. They'd fill out the application. They would mail it off. Easy. And then a year later it changed. Like, actually, we need these things. And then a year later it changed. And now you have to show up with your ID, and the process is pretty much back to where it was. But there's a little bit of time there. It was, oh, you need this thing. This is how you do it. And a couple months later, no, this is how you do it. And this is how you do it. So like if you want to, let's say you had an ID in Idaho previously. So your ID, not driver's license, your previous ID was in Idaho, and you go to the DMV in West Virginia to get a new ID, you'd have a driving record from the state of Idaho, even though you didn't drive. Just weird things that, like, I've had clients go like, I didn't drive. I don't have a driver's license. Yeah, but it basically just says on paper you existed and you have this thing that, again, I don't know until I'm there. And we learn those things all the time. So luckily we've have so many repetitions of this that we're starting to learn, like, oh, this is a barrier, so this is how we're going to go around it. Whereas if I was in that situation, it was just me. I mean, there are problems that we're solving that came up 3 years ago. That before was like, yeah, I truly don't know how to do this. And we had to go this really, really long about way to solve it. And now we're finding those shortcuts. Yeah, if I was in that situation, I would have no idea how to solve some of those. The going from zero to being housed, there's a lot of things you have to do. And it's like, where do you start? Birth certificates aren't cheap. There's some places where if you order them, you might be spending, the courthouse down here, $5. I think the most money I've ever spent on a birth certificate is close to like $90-some. Like, if I'm homeless, how am I supposed to get that? And I can't start a job because I don't have my birth certificate. How am I supposed to get this money to do this thing? And there are some programs in West Virginia, especially in Parkersburg, that kind of do what we do. We're just able to do it also. Yeah, if I was in a situation, I have no idea where to start.
Back to the program itself, when I said I was, thinking about how multifaceted it was and how it just branches out to all the other services in Westbrook. I mean, you guys can help point people in the right direction if they're facing substance abuse issues, if they're facing any type of issues. You can help them in so many different ways, and I think that's why your program's so important. Yeah,
it's like I feel like we're involved in so many different things. We'll sit in on like high risk meetings with the MAT team, and our division falls directly under SUD. So we're in meetings all the time with like Amity, Exodus, and Genesis, and we work closely with the CSU and with the peers, and we're a little bit of everywhere, which is what I love. That's what I want. I want referrals going both ways. It's the ultimate goal because that's how people get the assistance that they need. Yeah, I feel like we try to be everywhere, and that's the goal. We want to be helping wherever it is that we can. And if we don't have an answer, like, oh, I might not be able to, do these things, but hey, these programs can.
I feel like we've already touched on this a little bit just with the stuff that you've told me, but as far as just your day-to-day, what is the most rewarding thing about being the director of the Connections program and working with your team every single day helping people?
Yeah, so number one, I love my team. I'm blessed when it comes to my team. There's no way around it. I'm truly, truly blessed when it comes to my team. The team dynamic, the trust that we've all built. We're to the point now where, like, if someone comes in and says, hey, I was working with this case manager on this thing, do you have any information for me? We pretty much all know what's going on, that I can give them an answer, which I love. Like, I love that, if two people go to the shelter one day and then two other people go a different day, like, they're able to pick up. We have I'm truly, truly blessed. Such a really, really good dynamic working there. Blessed with them. But truly the most rewarding thing is that when it comes to things like, anxiety or depression or really any other mental illness that you can think of. Actually, even like substance use is a really good example. You're not like, oh, hey, I'm 30 days clean. I beaten substance use. No, it's a lifelong thing. But for me, it's some of my things are very black and white. I got them their ID, done. There's a box checked, we have made progress. And the progress sometimes is very, very black and white. Whereas if you're doing like mental health or even substance use specifically, you might not see that because there are days where they're doing really well and then, there's a craving or a trigger or something happens. But for me, I get to see the very, very black and white progress, which is truly the most rewarding part to me. I get to go home and be like, oh, I feel like maybe today wasn't the most rewarding of days, whatever happened today. But I know that I ordered these things, which is going to help these people do this, which is going to help this. And it's very, very black and white for me. And I love that. I can go home at the end of the day, even on the worst days, say, oh, but I still did this thing. Or maybe I didn't see clients that day for whatever. I was in meetings all day. I don't know. My team accomplished these things today. And I get the very, very black and white, hey, there's this cool thing that we did. And we have to submit all of our things to our grant at the end of the year. So I get to see, oh, here's all the things we did this year, and here's all the progress we have, and here's all these, the success stories that we have. So for me, the progress gets to be very black and white, and I love that so much. So I can come back to my team on whenever they're having rough days and be like, yeah, today's rough because whatever happened, but look at all these successes that we have. Our wins are very, very tangible, and we can see that. And I love that. That was the most rewarding part for me. Before I was in this position, I was doing youth suicide prevention, which I would see people essentially at their worst whenever they're going through all of the things that help them get treatment, I help them get whatever it is that they need. But my job was identifying it. I wasn't the person who was going to sit down and, all right, I'm not doing therapy with them. I wasn't qualified to do therapy. I'm not, going inpatient with them. I'm not doing these extra things. I got the relay to it. So I didn't have that follow-up. But with this program, I get that follow-up. We're supposed to continue working with them once they're housed and help them sustain it. So I get to see, hey, you're clearly doing well. There is no, are we sure about this? Or there is no gray area. It's very, very clear. And I love that I can report that back to my team. I love that I can report that back to my grant to be like, hey, the money you guys gave us, it's working. Please keep working with us. I love that. That's honestly the best part. I'm blessed with my team. I love that our wins are very tangible. It's optimal. I love everything about it.
That's great because, I'm kind of the same way. Mm-hmm. If I can take a step back and see the improvements I've made, that gives me, even whether it's helping people, anything, mm-hmm. That gives you that sense of accomplishment because you can say, this is where we started, this is where it ended up. Yep. And it has to be rewarding being able to help people improve their lives. It is. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's got to be a great feeling. Yeah,
I like that. Like I said, our wins are super tangible. We get to start from, there's some people who, have all their things and they're just on the verge of being evicted. So, we're able to get them into a place before they're homeless. We're able to kind of catch that early. And a lot of that is because we're blessed to be working with like therapists and other case managers who get the alert. Their client tells them, hey, I got an eviction notice, I have to be out in 60 days. So we're finding out about that and not, getting a call and, hey, I'm out in 14 days, I'm out in 8 days, I'm out in 5 days. We're able to catch that early, which is awesome for us because as we discussed earlier, there's not a whole lot of housing, so we have time to work with it. So again, really, really blessed with that. Yeah, it's fantastic.